Nobody.
And we got a 2-hour time limit, Ann, so.
Okay, we got this, we got this. All right, so today is mostly gonna be, we talked yesterday, we talked more about some of the special revenue funds and enterprise funds. Today, we are going to concentrate on general fund, which is where most of the spending is, for the government, and, it's our discretionary fund to a certain extent, where things are allowed to come out, they're not really dedicated for any specific purpose. Let's just look at some supplemental information on page 147. A lot of this we have already looked at. I just want to bring your attention to page 148, the actual millages. I got confirmation. So the estimated 2025 value, taxable value, was estimated at 426. The actual has come in at 442 for a mill, 442,894 for a mill. So,
For a mill.
yes. And I did talk to the assessor. I feel that it's probably more if we take the conservative approach and continue with the 426, because DTE is looking to go to the Court of Appeals and get an exemption for their facility that they built.
A total
The plant.
exemption?
And so, while I get excited that it could bring another 300,000 in the general fund, I don't want to be overexcited, and I don't want to budget that knowing that there's a possibility that can be taken away. So that is my conservative opinion, that we should continue as is, and if we get more, great. If we don't, we need to live within our budget. But we did get that value. 149 is just taxable values by class, so you're basically looking at how much residential, commercial, industrial, personal, and total taxes we have. It's been in there. It just gives you some idea of how much residential and commercial that we have. Page 150. This is an assessment of city millages across the communities of similar like communities. Obviously, some of these communities are a lot bigger than we are, and some are a lot smaller than we are. But within the range, you can see Riverview is the second one to the right. They're pretty much in line. If you look at the other 21, 22, when I did it this year, I actually went to add the special assessment so that we are talking apples to apples if we go to the different communities. So Riverview's right there. There's obviously kind of right in the middle of all these downriver areas. And then obviously you got Ecorse and River Rouge that are way higher than we are. So just a view of where we're at as compared to other communities. And those you can all find on the Wayne County Appropriation Report as well.
And you just did these because they're cities and not townships?
Right, yep, yep. And they're all, like I said, they're all available on Wayne County, on the appropriation reports.
Why do they have such a high millage?
It depends on their SEV, like, it's their taxable value.
Oh, okay.
So the taxable values are different compared to what community you are, so,
To
Yes.
generate enough revenue
yes.
to pay the
generate.
bills.
So
They have
Grosse
to
Eels is
increase
actually,
that up.
1 mil is, on Grosse Eels is twice of ours.
Okay.
So it's not, it's Apple, but it's
Yeah.
really not, because everyone's a little bit different. 152 we looked at, so we looked at the rest of these, I just wanted to make sure that everyone kind of scanned through them if they ever want to go back and look at them. So, let's start with general fund revenue. So we're gonna go to, so if we wanna look at the summary of general fund,
What page is that?
page 28. So it's our comparison from year to year. If you look at our total comparison, we are increasing this budget by about 3.47%. And we'll see how that comes into play later. It's about average for the last 10 years, so we're keeping within average. But I like doing that and then bring it to your attention. Some of the big areas as far as the expenditures, like I said, we'll go through those line items. Obviously, police went up, and I'll let you know why when we get there. And fire went down. But you can see, a lot of times I say, sometimes it is what it is. It's pretty consistent from year to year. Okay, then there's graphs and stuff, we won't go through those, they're actually kind of hard to see when you don't have the colored paper, so, but won't waste a lot of time on that. All right, so let's start on page 32, which is our revenue. So these are all the revenue categories that pertain to general fund. Obviously, when we look on page 32, if we look at the property taxes, those are going to be our biggest revenue generating, and we talked about that. We saw what the revenue, where the taxes come and where they're being allocated to the general fund and how they're being allocated. So one was the property tax revenue, the general mills, the public safety millage, and the fire millage. So those are the three that will go into general fund. And then you have delinquent personal property and your property chargeback. We also have the administration fee that brings in 1%. Before, we used to just do it on the summer or winter tax bill, I don't remember which one it was, but consistently every community does it on the full tax bill for both summer and winter. They get the benefit of having it on the other communities. So that's used to operate the administration. It's basically used for to do the taxes. It's supposed to be used for producing the tax bills, and that's why it's on there, and that's the definition of a true admin bill on your tax bill. The next section is license and permits, which we talked about yesterday. Those are the revenues generated from the building department. We look at the state sources. So in state sources, the main sources are your state shared revenue. So we have the different constitutional and statutory state shared revenue. And then we also, once they eliminated the personal property taxes, we get a percentage back that's foregone that we get from the state of Michigan. And that's about $205,000 to replace that lost revenue. And then I want to bring to the attention of the state revenue marijuana sales tax. That's that 200,000 that we're budgeting in there for the first time, if you'll see it. So you can see the actual received in 24-25 was 232, and we're budgeting 200. Fines and forfeitures are a little bit, they're just the district court and the district, so that just brings in like $50,000. Charges for services, these are our miscellaneous fees, these are our inspections, some of this again is the building department. There's the new one of passports, so we're budgeting 9,500 for passports. She'll hit that plus more, so that was a nice generating revenue for doing the passports and a nice service to the public. And we look at ambulance billings remain about the same, so we've taken about $800,000 in ambulance billings. That's one of the bigger ones. Through the other funds, remember we're talking about charges to other services. So we are charging them, and we're able to charge them like those enterprise funds. So we're supposed to treat those enterprise funds as if they were self-sustaining. So if they were, you'd have to hire an accountant, you'd have to hire, someone to take their cash. You'd have to. So that's the theory of charging them all an administrative fee. And again, being consistent between the Gulf, water, and land preserve. You can see those different areas come in at that 5%, the 118, the 306, and the 692 based on their revenues. So you can kind of understand how it's all coming together, how we generate revenue for the general fund. Interest income, I took it down. As we all know, interest income is starting to come down, but still feel like it'll be there for a little bit. So it looks like it's still in that area. I'm gonna give myself kudos. Since October of 23, just by making a phone call and incorporating the Michigan class, it's gained $1.2 million.
Wow.
Out of 5.15.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
You're welcome. One simple call.
Split it.
No, I wish I could take 5%. So Recreation Department is on page 34. And here are your recreation fees, your the Summerfest. So if you look at the recreation, the activity fees, the program revenue, the rental of the community center, you can see here that for Summerfest, we know which is a big event for the residents. You get about $55,000 in donations, and the revenues come in at about $51,000. So you're looking at a little over $100,000 for that that weekend is what we're bringing in. I'll show you later what the expenses are. And then the special event sponsorships. Those are sponsorships for all the concerts in the park and all that other activities they have. That raises about $65,000. And we'll look at the expenses later. And then if we look at, so that's the recreation. And if we look at the other revenue, just miscellaneous items, a lot of the stuff I don't even budget. A lot of times we get rebates, a lot of times we get stuff that's just extra money that we don't really budget for. If it comes in, great. And there are things along the way that will say, oh, where did this come from? And it's just things that happen, like from prescriptions or whatever. They're just rebates. If you look at the virtual card rebates, that's the thing I just implemented. So it's almost like your Visa card. We're going to start getting rewards, I guess, for using it. We're projecting around $50,000, which would probably be very conservative. So if you look at transfers in, there's that operating transfer from the land preserve. So in the past couple of years, it was $300,000, $1.5 million, $500,000 for this current year we're in, and then you can see that big zero in the last column. So we are not having any subsidized land preserve to the general fund. So total revenue is $14,150,000 and some change. So that's our total revenue. That's what makes up the total revenue for general fund. Any questions on the revenue? All right, now we're gonna start going through the different general fund departments. So the first one is page 37, which is city council.
35?
Oh,
Yeah, I'm just looking at the.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, 37, that's one of those where it is what it is. It's about $90,000 for salaries and all our different organizations that we belong to that are like SEMCOG, Downriver Community Conference, Drano, and that's really kind of all that's in it. So that's, okay, city manager would be page 39. When, two things I want to bring to your attention when you're looking at the city manager. So the city manager's budget is, there's really nothing there. A couple legal fees, 95% of his budget is just people. And I'm gonna keep saying that along the line, because you're gonna see how much is just people, because we are people, that's what we do, right? We service. If you look to item, like we talked about before, so he doesn't have a pension, he'll never be entitled to that pension, so that's a 0 line item. And if you look at the GASB 45 and the OPEB, that went up, not because of just him, because again, I reallocated, I looked at all those people that should have went there and they weren't. Like, they were all administrators, they were all within the manager's department. They retired from there, but they were being allocated elsewhere. So in total it works, but the allocation is more appropriate to where, that's not him, that's 9 people that are in that OPEB situation that are getting health benefits. Nothing really there, it's just, like I said, some legal, that's about it. The next one, 41, is the assessor purchasing. If we look at that, recently, it went up because we hired a full-time person to do the, that would be Carrie, I shouldn't say names, but we did a purchasing payables person. So now that's one full-time position in here who also does all the, purchasing and does the payables as well. And the assessor is the contractual assessor, so he is a consultant assessor. And that line item is in there as well. Other than that, very little. Page 43, 42, 43 is the attorney. That's general, the attorney for the entire year for, pretty much stays the same. Okay, now, do you want the managers to sit up for
They
the
can
5
come up,
minutes?
sure,
Or
yeah.
okay, because it
There
might
might
take a
be
big 5
questions.
minutes.
Clerk's up.
Clerk's
She's first up and first out, so.
See? I'll take it.
All right. All right, most of the time, we're just doing it, we're just going through if there's anything there, questions for you. Go for it, Jesus. Okay, so, the city clerk, if, again, they're people, so for all these, I'm just taking it and basically saying, if you look at salaries, wages, and fringes, it makes up 82% of this budget.
And the clerk count is 2.
Clerk count is 2 full-time.
And purchasing was 1.
Yes,
And city manager was 2.
yes.
So that's just, so you
Yep.
can kind of put
Yep,
those
that's
counts,
good, I was gonna write
okay?
that, yep. So that's putting the accounts together. And then the only thing, is, really this contractual services is just software updates, like, and then so that's really what that is, and then, what else do we got? Postage, so, for the, elections. There really is not much there. She does in her capital projects, I think we talked about last week, she needed to buy 2 more tabulators for.
And if we get that, we have all new voting equipment for every single precinct, which would be greatly beneficial.
Cool.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Right.
And how many are we looking at this year, 2?
Yeah.
2, and then we'll be done.
Yeah.
We'll have
Yep.
an updated,
And then you can see a presidential year in election is 42,000
Yep.
with part-time wages, and a local election is 10. So
Yes.
that makes a huge difference on
Yep.
Yeah, I
The
did only
expense.
budget, I will say this, I only budgeted for one election. I
This
did
year.
not budget for a primary election. I only budgeted for a November election. But yeah, it should be pretty, I still have some grant money from, that I got, that I can purchase some election equipment within this current year for the next year, but it's not enough to purchase my 2 new tabulators, so.
We actually received about $50,000. Again, we don't budget for that in all her reimbursements, because you never know, are they gonna send it, are they not
Yeah.
gonna send it? You always say- So we've actually, she's ahead by $50,000 in the current fiscal year because we had some reimbursements for some elections, which is good.
Yeah, and then the postage is
Yeah.
high, but just so everyone knows, when I do passports, that's part of the fee, is the postage. So if you get your passports done with me, they pay for postage.
Okay.
So we're not losing out on anything.
Well, I'll be coming to see you for those soon.
That's, that's easy, it's quick and easy.
There's not much else
No,
there.
there's really not.
Easy.
You're good. If anyone has questions for Shane?
It was easy.
Good night.
Thank you.
The next one is the finance department.
You can't leave, Luann, when you're
Oh,
done.
God.
So just letting you know. that,
So we have 4 in the finance department.
so. Yes, you do.
We do. And it's, so 85% of that budget is payroll and benefits. The only thing is the auditing fees. For the auditor to come annually and do the audit. And then, last but not least, so we did get charged more bank charges.
So I warned Ann, one of the side effects of moving all the monies to the high interest rate bearing account is you don't have it on balance for the bank. So you don't have any offsets to the balance, but the interest earned
Yeah.
way
No, I'll take
outweighs.
it. It's
Because
fine.
take a look at that, right? I mean,
They're like, oh, are you sure? I'm like, no, I think I'm sure.
but I just warned her that
Yeah.
that was gonna happen, so don't be shocked.
Right,
when
it's all
you
the
get-
fees instead of the,
You know, because we don't
That's
have,
worth it.
we don't
Oh, yeah.
leave much in the bank, it's all earning interest, so
they don't like it.
they don't like it. Ann's pretty good at
Yeah. So,
monitoring cash flow and taking advantage of our
sure.
deposits, so.
And then, so that's me, and then, next is human resources.
Miss
and
Tracy,
And now.
in and out, yeah.
And now, stepping up to the plate.
No, I'm gonna introduce you, John.
All right, human resources, page 49,
Just one.
just one. Party of one, and her budget is about 82% of her total budget. The couple things if you want to ask her about, really, there's the contractual services are the psychological exams. And this is, and then you got the pre-employment exams and the EPA advertising and testing. That's really, I mean, if you have any questions for Tracy, but there's really not much there.
Is the OPEB and contributions blank?
There's no one there. I
No
think
one there.
that there would have been, who retired before you? Carol, she
Carol.
wasn't entitled. And then who was before her?
John Higgins.
I think it's.
And I probably put them in yours because I didn't know exactly
Yeah.
where it was. So I just put them in. But again, like, we didn't know the history of the people, unless we knew like administration or something. So without doing too much like grabbing, we just wanted to generalize, like police were police, you know. It was DPW were DPW. It was pretty simple, but
And legal shows up in the legal, but,
yeah.
you know, Tracy negotiated 4 contracts. So that's gonna be less this year. I think that, you know, that should be
Oh, yeah.
substantially less. The only thing we're gonna have some legal is with our water treatment plant, because that's gonna be,
Right.
take some time, that's a nightmare, so. But other than that, there's not much in there.
No.
Pretty straightforward.
All right,
Yeah, she asked me, why did the OPEB go away? It's because it really wasn't, like I said, I just put them all in your area, because they said administrative or an administrative office or.
well, I guess in I think
Right.
for Dean, John Akis was the assistant city manager, so
Right,
it could
so
fall
city
under city
manager,
manager.
that's why I said,
Wasn't he?
no?
They didn't have any.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
You didn't make him?
It's a lone wolf.
It's probably in the, it's
Okay.
in the manager area,
Okay.
though I knew it's somewhere in general fund, it
Right.
wasn't like I'm getting it out.
All right,
Alright.
police, he's done.
The one, the
No,
only,
no.
John Ellen.
Oh, wait, I jumped, no.
No, that's okay, we can do police, it's fine, because you're next in the book.
Okay,
MC.
yeah, okay, yep.
That way you want to keep-
room.
So John has a budget in
Yep.
his department for 23, but they currently have 20, I believe.
Yes, and I have total in there is budgeted 24 and a half, which is him and the records clerk. So
Okay.
that would have been budgeted 23 plus him
Him?
and the records clerk.
Okay, so
That's
24
what's
and
in
a
the
half,
budget,
not
yep.
bad. But
So-
we have 20, so we have 21 and a half,
Right,
And we're still looking to fill out the position?
We are.
Yes.
Okay, just want to make sure.
yes.
absolutely.
So if you want to take a look at that, their budget
Yeah.
Well,
is 90.
why you brought that up, why don't
Yes,
we,
yeah, go ahead.
Councilman, why you brought that up, let John tell you what
Yes.
he's doing to try to get these officers, because they're a hot commodity now.
Yeah.
Other cities are,
Poaching.
yeah, so, go ahead, John.
So
What you
we're at
tried-
20.
Yeah.
We have one starting the police academy in May. He'll graduate September, hopefully. Then it'll be a 4-month process after that till he's on the road by himself. We have interviews tomorrow. We're hoping to send another person to the academy in July. And then we have another person that just applied ironically yesterday, so hopefully she might work out too. So our plan going forward, unfortunately, is probably going to send people to the academy.
Yeah.
Looks like that's the way of the future. So,
The first one's under grant.
correct, we should, we haven't got word that we received it, but we will.
Mhm.
And it's 20 grand, the grant.
What was that grant again?
It's a grant for retention and, I forget what it's called, but it's through the state of Michigan, it's through MCOLS, which is
Yeah,
our licensing.
that's what I was trying to, okay.
So that's something different. And you're
Yeah.
trying, that old saying, you gotta try something different to get different results, so
I agree, it's a tough
hopefully-
market.
it's a very tough market.
And, oh, yeah.
We pay for the academy, are they obligated contractually to stay for?
That's a good question. This one's a grant, so probably no. But the governor and the legislators did pass a law because they figured this would be a problem. So there is a payback if they do leave, if we hire them and send them through on our own. I think the first year they have to pay back 75%, next is 50, something like, some formula like that. So there is a mechanism to try to get our money back.
I'm excited because John told me the first one going through the academy is a Riverview resident.
Awesome.
No?
No, that fell through.
Oh, I was excited.
Don't get too excited.
I know. I'm always excited when it's homegrown.
Yes, I would agree.
I really like that, so.
I was excited to see, we're looking for a new canine officer. Who's gonna get to,
Well, we haven't thought that far through, but I'm going to do it probably at the end of the next budget year to try to get another year out of Blue. So we'll do interviews and we'll see who we pick. It is exciting. I
Yeah.
did that for 9 years, so I know how good that job is. Susie
I will
knows.
tell you, best job you ever had.
Best job. It is the best job.
And the dog lives with me.
Does not work like that.
Okay, well, I didn't mean to jump in front of you. I just wanted, as the questions were asked, I thought it would be appropriate for you to answer.
I agree, it's a good
No,
I
those
question.
are
know
good
it's a good question, so.
That's what these are for, more informational than just looking at numbers
Yep.
all the time. So, yeah, his is about 93%. Here was that big jump, this is where you're getting, so, last year we budgeted 478 for OPEB. Well, if you truly look at all the people who were in the police department, who retired with benefits, it's 840 is the difference. So it's being reallocated to the proper place. And you're gonna see the fire drop way off because we only had one retiree in the fire department, but you never had a full-time fireman. So why are we charging those costs there? So that deals, this is where the big difference comes in. And then, obviously, vehicle maintenance is a high number. It's over 100 grand. And then the ACO is a contractual position with YDOT, as well as the assessor, same, what do they call it? Consolidation? I guess.
Yes, it is a consolidated department.
Yep. And then, on.
John
go
also
ahead.
has under the part-time, and it's up again, but, you know, you can see that the change is when he got the code enforcement
Mhm.
that was assigned under the police department and not the building department, so.
And then, on page 54, we incorporated some capital improvements, but really not necessarily are going to be capitalized. One is the K-9 animal and training, so we did put that in there. And then, flock cameras and rifles. So we put them directly in this area because they're really not capitalized, because you're buying a bunch of them at a low price, so like $1,000 a piece, so we wouldn't capitalize them. Those are just coming out of the general fund.
So the flock cameras, there's gonna be 8?
Correct. That's a yearly
Yeah,
contract,
Yeah, so
so we're
that's
not
not
happy
really-
with them.
Right.
We just ended.
I think those are really big.
John, how many cars do you have this year in your capital improvement plan?
Yeah.
One.
One.
Yeah.
I might ask for another one. We did have one totaled out.
Okay.
So we replaced that one that we weren't going to replace. So we had to hold an older one. So we'll see. We really need two, but we'll try one.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll see where we're at.
We're real conservative with the cars.
We'll see where we're at when we come closer to June too.
Yeah.
Correct.
And maybe, you know, if Bass said he's got one or can get one.
Yep. Any questions for Joan?
John, just, you know, it kind of came up last night too when you weren't here about how many miles are put on the police cars. Do you know roughly how many is on some of those older cars?
Yeah, we don't really have a formula. We'd like to have them at least 5 years. Sometimes we save them longer, but I think the one out there right now has 100 and some thousand on it. We usually don't get rid of them under 100,000. And just so the citizens know, we take our old cars and we give them to the code enforcement. We really use and abuse our vehicles. We only have 7 patrol cars. We have 4 other cars that we utilize. And we have a couple even older cars that we use for, like, if an officer needs to go to school. So we really utilize our cars really well. The mechanic does a fantastic job of keeping our cars. Sometimes they rust out more than they die out, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd asked the question yesterday if there were warranties. I know, obviously standard warranties are usually like 36,000 miles, but they do have extended warranties that go up to like 10 years, 110,000 miles, which is why I brought it up. And some people were saying, well, why don't you just continue maintenance on the vehicle and keep it a little bit longer? But obviously the mileage that you put on is a lot harder than, you know, a normal vehicle, but I just wanted to clarify, there are extended warranties that go 10
Yeah,
years, 110.
and I mean, he can look at that just to see. A lot of times they're cheapest at time of purchase too. Like if you go back at 35,000 miles, it could be double what they're offered, like at the time of sale. I do know that, so we can definitely look at that. John can ask.
The
that
increase in the
question.
overtime, I imagine is, I don't want to assume, but the shortage of officers you have, so there's more overtime for the other officers to fill the gaps.
There is, and it's a weird formula they use for the budgeting. That's an actual formula that pops up. It's, I don't know, how do we get to that point?
Right, just you just take in hours and you're kind of estimating it. So he's really low, like this year, he's under hours. So you just, you kind of just base on the last couple of years. And yeah, people are out, people get on workers' I mean, it is a hard mechanism to do. So,
Yes, so what, last year we were 354,000, but that's a little
Sure.
deceiving because we used some federal dollars
Sound
to
is screwed up.
patrol.
right,
So that's really, it was 70,000 under that, Brian.
right.
It's
Last
a
year,
weird
that's
fluctuation.
22, 23, last year was
Yeah, I'm sorry, last year.
266,
So we got, yeah.
and this year's 318.
Yeah, that was budgeted, it was actually 297 is what we used last
Those,
year.
those are placeholders.
297.
That's what we think that it might,
Right,
we're
260
exposed of.
that-
but-
So he's at 266, and if I look, you'll see his 330, yeah, it's 115. He's only at 50%, and he should be at 75%. So he's running good, but now you're going into those summer months again. It's
People
just
are gone,
that,
yeah.
yeah.
Correct, and at the end of the year, so each officer gets 3 hours of comp, because they work an 84-hour pay period. So 3 hours, they get paid on their paycheck, and they get another 3 in comp. So if they never use that, we have to pay it out at the end of the year too. So that always fluctuates at the end of the year. Sometimes it's 60 grand that we have to pay, because they also can build up their comp time. which we
Is
have to
that paid out in overtime? I mean, would that show as the overtime line item?
It does go into the overtime budget, yes. Anything else? Questions, concerns?
Doesn't look like it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Appreciate it. Have a good night.
Thank you, too.
Good job on the budget.
Thank you. That's her.
Yeah, we do it together.
I won't announce you, but.
You are, let's go, Chief Owens.
Have a good night, sir.
So the chief
Yep.
currently has 12, well, 13 and a half.
13.5, Yep.
He has 12 fire fire paramedic, full-time. He has himself, and he has a half part-time admin.
Yep.
That was
Yep.
filled in for previous deputy chief, so.
And then, so their portion is 88% of this budget is salary and fringes. Now, if you look at his line item for OPEB, it went from 243 to 17, really, because that was one person. They never had full-time people. So that makes more sense, and that's what I was trying to do. So it looks bad, but in total, it's all the same. It's just the way I allocated the people. And then what does he have, anything?
I know Tracy's gone, but Chief and I and Tracy had discussions that it's hard with part-timers now. A lot of part-timers are not available, there's not a lot of shifts. I mean, there's not, in their mind, their shifts that they want, and so Chief is doing the best he can with the part-timers that we have. At one time, we had like 28 part-timers.
Yeah.
And I think we're down to like 7 right now.
Wow.
Yeah, we have 7. One of them is potentially going to leave. He's working as interim fire chief up at his full-time job, which they haven't offered it to him yet, so I'm kind of in touch with him saying, what are you thinking? And of course, he's in the air. He doesn't know yet. Another individual, part-timer, he has not worked since I've been here. And I reached out to him, and I'm going to sit down with him and say, what are your intentions here? You know, let's stop playing a game. If you want to work, there's hours. I know there's some discord with the part-timers where we've been working on it, and we're trying to get to a common ground between the full-timers and the part-timers. I think part of the dissension is the part-timers used to outnumber full-timers. They ran the shifts.
Yeah.
And now they're not. And so there's some animosity. I've been talking to the part-timers. I've let them know I give them as much advance notice. I put out a new scheduling policy that really helps the part-timers with future scheduling, whereas in the past, it was like, well, can you work tomorrow? Well, no, I can't work tomorrow. Well, the way that I'm working with it is to give them as much advance notice as possible. I put the policy out, I let them all read it. I said, tell me what you think, you know, put your comments on a piece of paper. I said, and I will, you know, redo it, you know, after I get all the comments. And didn't have a single comment from any of the part-timers.
Hopeful.
That or they just didn't care.
Yeah.
So I'm not really sure. Trying to get a feel for them. I've talked to a couple of them that are very open with me, and they've pretty much said the same things. Well, they're kind of ticked off. So I'm trying to work with them. So.
Yeah, and fire chief didn't ever want to post for part-time, and we may have to do that, where we actually post for part-time hours for our fire department, so we'll see how that goes. All right. Continue, Miss Ann.
So his are mostly, if you look at the line items, the vehicle obviously is a big one, and his are more medical supplies, stretchers. You can see, I mean, basically what the line items are pretty much consistent from year to year. If we look at the bottom two, he was talking about some turnout gear. He said he needed turnout gear for compliance. We were talking about, we looked into the, he was looking at financing for it because it's a $67,000 purchase to get, 19 suits, 20 suits?
19.
So along with it, when you start a finance charge at 7 or 8%, I said, why don't we just purchase them out? Because they wanted a 5-year lease. And I said, why don't we just purchase them out? So we have right there, we'll have to change this, or it was gonna be year to year, like 10 to 15,000. And I said, well, let's just purchase it. So we're gonna put it in the capital improvement and just purchase it straight out. Makes no sense to finance $67,000.
The issue with the turnout gear, the reason that we need it, several years ago, they mandated 2 sets of gear for every firefighter. There's been different assistance from the state in regards to grants and getting a second set of gear. For whatever reason, that's not been fulfilled. And our current gear is 7 and 8 years old. We're only allowed to use it for 10 years, and then we have to replace it. So currently, we have 19 sets of 7 and 8 year old gear that we have to not only replace, but we're gonna have to subsidize somehow to get a second set of gear. I did hear just a couple of days ago that the state is possibly gonna come back around with another grant opportunity for turnout gear, which would be phenomenal. But because it's mandated, we're kinda tied, and these guys, they have to have the gear, and in 2 years, we're gonna have to buy brand new gear anyways, and then we're still working on another set. So, in the meantime, I wrote a grant last fall that incorporates 19 sets of gear. So if I get that grant, which would be phenomenal, I would get our second set of gear as well. And what I would do with that second set is I would delay the manufacturing on it, which we can do that, and then I would stretch it out so that we're not all expiring in 10 years for 2 sets of gear. We would have, at least, a couple of years between it. So that's what's going on with the turnout gear.
Chief, who is mandating?
State. Actually, it came through the federal, but the state came out to us, the National Firefighters Association, through the state of Michigan. They said, yes, you have to have 2 sets of gear. Reason being, over the last several years, with all the studies and carcinogens that are out there, if we go on a house fire, we get back, our gear is covered in soot and all sorts of nasty stuff. We do have a gear washer. We can wash it. Well, washing and drying takes several hours per set of gear. So in the meantime, I'm out of gear. Or I just continue wearing the exact same set of gear that never gets washed, which back in the day, that used to be cool because you smell like fire and you were cool. But 60% of firefighters, come down with some form of cancer. So that's where this whole mandate came in. Just like with our exhaust system, we have the venting systems. This was part of it. So.
And is there somebody that we can reach out to? Or is there anything on our end that we should be?
In regards to grants or?
I'm asking because if it's state mandated, then they're requiring you to do this. And again, I want to clarify, I'm not saying you shouldn't have it. They've deemed it. They're the ones that said you have to have it. So
they've given us the opportunity. Last year, the state of Michigan put out a grant, which was the easiest grant I've ever written. Basically, my name, I'm here, I want this. We got it. It was second set of turnout gear for all full-time firefighters. 2 years before that, they did that for all part-time firefighters. For whatever reason, last year the grant was never applied for. So going to the state saying, hey, what are you going to do? You're mandating it. They're going to look at us and say, we've given you the opportunity. You didn't take it. So. But like I said, I heard that they're in talks about coming out with another opportunity here, hopefully soon, in regards to turnout gear.
Quick question, just for my curiosity, the Lucas CPR machine,
Mhm.
is that the automatic, that's what I thought, I just
Yeah,
wanted
the
to make sure.
thumper.
Yeah. Those are neat.
Oh my God, phenomenal. Very impressive with success rates before and after with the Lucas devices. Typically, on a national level, we had about a 12 to 16% success rate with
Yeah.
CPR. With the Lucas device, we're up 24 to sometimes 30, 35% success rate. It's phenomenal.
If you guys don't know what we're talking about, it's basically a board that you just strap them and it performs the compressions for you. It's,
The portable thumper, we call it.
Yeah,
It straps over and
no,
CPR machine.
it's just for compressions.
Yeah.
But it's,
So they don't have to do them.
yeah.
Because it's
I mean,
exhausting.
it lets firemen concentrate on using the bag and everything else and it makes transport, you don't have to stop the compressions. It's,
And the quality of compressions.
Yeah.
There's no human factor, getting tired. That machine is spot on every single compression. They're phenomenal.
I performed CPR twice and that is a tiring exercise.
Chief, one of your big line items in the revenue is ambulance billings.
Do it myself.
How are we doing with that in collections?
We are right up to date. Every morning I get in, I submit all the data from the previous day. So there's no delay in regards to processing our runs. We have not had a single kickback. Kickback, they call them exceptions. If the documentation wasn't complete, then our billing company, Acumed, would send it back to us, say, hey, you need to fix this. You forgot to add this, or, good example, an injured leg. Was it left or right? If they don't specify a left or right leg, the insurance or the billing company would send it back. Previous years, a lot of those runs were not corrected. They were not sent in. What was it, like $46,000?
We lost almost 50 grand on the table last year.
Yeah.
Over 800,000.
Yeah, so
So
that's one of the things that I've been real steadfast on, and the guys have been great. Anytime there's a run, because I QC, I quality control all the runs myself. I read the runs as they come in the morning, make sure I've called crews in and said, hey, before you leave, I need you to fix this, and they're like, how do you know that? It's kind of my job. But they've been spot on, and so far we are, 100% up to date with all of our billing. One of the other things, hopefully in the future, we've talked about this with reimbursement. Currently, they did a huge study over the last several years, and they came out with, on a national level, that each EMS run costs about $1,000. And that includes gas, repairs, manpower, all that stuff. Our billing returns from Blue Cross, Medicare, and Medicaid are very different. Blue Cross pays the most, roughly about $600, $650. Medicare is in the middle, and Medicaid is ridiculous, about $200 and some odd, $300. This bill that actually got passed just a couple of months ago, and they're expecting it to actually kick in September, and we'll be able to go retro to the date that it was put in, which was, I believe, early January, I think the 20th. What that does is that subsidizes the Medicaid portion that we've been paid, and that would subsidize it up to that $1,000.
Wow.
So, right, so all of and now granted, it depends on how many Medicaid recipients we have. But we did a little study with our billing company. There's a potential for a couple extra $100,000 in revenue. That's with everything staying the exact same, run volume, treatment, everything, upwards of 200. High end, 250, maybe more, depends. But yeah, it's real hopeful. We had a big meeting just about a month and a half ago with the state rep who sponsored the bill and everything, and looks like a lot of cities are going to benefit when this actually goes into effect. So
Very good.
very hopeful about that.
Anything else?
I have a question. Do you have any thoughts of what equipment you could use opioid settlement on?
I'm sorry?
What equipment you could use opioid settlement on?
Yes, this is, it's been fun. I spoke with the lady out at the county that is supposedly in charge of dispersing the funds, or she's not allowed to say yes or no. She says, well, this is what we feel that it should go towards. Finding out that with her history, she's been very open about, she's recovering. So her interest has been more for rehabilitation. So when I spoke with her, I said, I would like to purchase, AEDs, put them in all the police vehicles, all the city buildings, even work on putting them in the schools. At that point, we would be basically in charge of all of them, making sure that they're there, we'd provide the training, all of that, and we know that they'd be all throughout the city. She didn't like it. She said, well, that doesn't really follow suit. I spoke with the director of Wayne County, Dr. Dunn, and talked to him about it, and he says, well, you gotta understand where she's coming from. She wants to see it where she's used to. He says, I like the idea. He says, I'm on the board of approvals, so if you put it together and you send it to us, he said, include a few things like, provide training, maybe gloves and a mask that go along with each AED so that if you use it, you can protect yourself. He said, let's develop a full package. He says, and this is, again, I'm on the board. Do I have the final say? No, but I've got a lot. I'm like, okay. So I started working with him on that. So what I would like to do, the other equipment, heart monitors, the expensive things, that's a real stretch. But with the AEDs, because a lot of overdose, the opiate overdoses will go into cardiac arrest if not attended. So that's where the AED, and we tried using opiate funds for the Lucas devices when I was in Dearborn, and they said, no, you can't do that. But with the AEDs, I think that's probably the best that we can do in utilizing those funds.
Great.
It's a great idea.
Do you have any assessment on the cost?
Yes. Each AED unit, the ones that I'm looking at, they're roughly about $2,300 a piece. The biggest benefit to these units, as opposed to what we have right now, these have a longer battery life, longer patches. Usually the patches, they expire within about 2 years, and they're $130 a piece. These patches, they're good for 5 years. They're only about $100, but and the batteries as well, 5 years. The other benefit is they have Bluetooth connectivity. So anytime that one of those units is turned on and put into use, it records all the data and it can alert me. And I can remotely check the status of it, say, hey, I wonder, what's the battery and the one at the library. I can pull it up and it'll show me a real-time battery usage and or battery life, as well as the pads and everything. So these are real user-friendly. They're a lot lighter. They're a little bit cheaper. The ones that we currently have, those are running about $4,000 or $5,000 right now. These are cheaper, and they're actually, I think, would be better for how we would go about using them here within the community.
You got a rough estimate for the total amount you would like?
I reached out to the schools, and depending on what they want to do, because they had talked about purchasing some too, if they want to purchase their own, I would look at getting at least 10 for here. That would replace a couple of the older ones in the police vehicles, City Hall, there's 2 in this building, and then the library, community center, and that would give me 2 extra to be able to maybe like go over to the Land Preserve, make sure that they have a newer one. I think they have an old unit right now.
Golf course?
Yes, definitely. I'd like to get at least a couple of them at the golf course. Ideal would be 1 on each 9, in the starter shack. I think that would be great.
On the beverage cart?
Yeah.
Just because you were talking about this, and this is years ago, so it may have changed, but back when my kid was in the schools, being a CPR instructor, one of the things I just happened to look at I think it was Huntington at the time, they had an AED there, but they only had adult pads. So I would suggest maybe.
Pediatric pads as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I know it happens rarely, but, you can use adult pads on an adult and it's too much for a kid, but you can't use pediatric pads on an adult.
Right.
So I strongly suggest that, and I believe most of the modern sales that we do, like through HSI or American Red Cross, they all come with both sets, pediatric and adults.
Correct.
So, I mean, I think that's a great idea.
One of the thanks for bringing it up, one of the benefits about these new units, the CR2s they call them, they will actually measure the impedance. So adult pads on, I don't want to say an infant, but on a child,
Yeah.
it will read the impedance and actually gauge down.
Oh, that's.
So you can use the adult on child, but when it comes to infant, and besides that, just physically,
Yeah.
they're too big for the infants, even putting them on front and back.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely, there's no reason not to have at least 2 sets of pads.
I would
adult
happily
impedance.
donate any time for training or anything else for anybody.
Awesome.
Ted, do we get to try them on?
They don't work on, if you don't use it, they won't play.
Any more for the chief?
Huh?
You can work it out.
Oh, I'll figure out a way.
You know, we've got medication over there.
Just saying. Hey, chief,
Don't
we can talk
encourage
after the
that,
meeting.
please. Good Lord.
Anything else for the chief?
Okay.
Thank you, chief.
Thank you, folks. Have a good night.
Night.
Thanks, chief.
Public Works, we did
We
last
did
night.
that, we
Might be
did fuel
warm
maintenance,
warm
we
summer.
did motor vehicles, we did parks and rec, we did community development, we're going right through. Okay, recreation.
Recreation.
Ah, batter up.
I don't think so.
71.
Right there.
Not my fault.
I don't know, it feels like
What
it's
did
hot
you
as
say,
hell.
77
I didn't want to say anything, and then I saw Rita using a fan, I'm
You
like,
always use a fan, that does not count.
I don't think so. It is. You can turn that down, but it's not.
I am not looking forward to summer getting in.
Recreation, 1.5.
Recreation, 1.5.
Todd and 1 part-time. It
Yeah.
used to be 2. and
Yeah.
When our full-timer retired, we replaced the full-time with a part-time.
What page are we on?
We are on page 71.
2 part-time.
Yeah.
Oh,
What's that?
We do have 2 part-time,
part-time,
yeah.
but I guess, I did put that.
2 part-time.
2 part-time.
Okay. That's right.
That's right. that
My
other-
bad.
Yeah, no, I got.
We gotta
that
change
one.
that.
Yeah. You are right.
Close on, dude.
I was gonna take it off.
So I gotta add another part-timer.
Yep.
Only Rita can pull it off.
What?
Sleeveless.
I know, that's what I was, well, yesterday,
Go
or
down to his
today.
tank top.
Leave your clothes on.
Yeah.
Great, you're now every other woman in my life.
Super good.
All right, 50, so he's down to 50%. Says obviously his ticket items. So we talked about the revenues for the special events. So the special event supplies would be everything that went to that is 85,000, and then he's got his program activities and expenses. Those are the big ticket items. This is really pretty much full rental. The advertising is the paper, which is at 30. Summerfest expenses are 75, so we talked earlier that he was bringing over 100, and the expenses for that on page 72 are 75,000 for Summerfest. Got his utilities. Really not, anything you can think of that,
Really isn't a lot of changes.
nope. Then we talked
So-
about your new, program, your new, playscapes. The
Yep,
different-
we did talk about
the-
that
the-
yesterday.
Okay.
So those
We
are all-
talked about Freeland Park and we talked about Young Patriots Park with them.
I got a question. Is the equipment going, the new equipment at Young Patriots, is that
Yes.
replacing one of the?
Yes, they'll be replacing the main set in Young Patriots, so to say. So the first set that you come to, not the one we put in about 10 years ago.
Okay, the one closest to the
Yes, the one
community center.
closest to the
Okay, all
community
right.
center,
Yeah,
the middle one.
all right.
And then your capital improvement, where you wanted to resurface the basketball courts.
Yes,
One of the
we're
basketball
gonna be
courts,
serving the
okay.
basketball courts and also bringing in, we're doing more picnic tables and park benches and things like that, that we have not touched any of those in over 10, 15 years. And it's all getting very dilapidated.
Yeah.
We probably need to get a certification of our playground equipment too. Get like a consultant
Yeah.
and take a look at it. I know you fixed the
Most
things that are
of-
broken, but
Most of our playgrounds were either put in 95, 96, or 97. So our playgrounds are very old. Most of the community park ones are pretty old. The city did I don't know if they did, it was a one time, they put out to bid and did all the parks at one time, and it was done
Wow.
over that little span of time.
did you do that, Dean? Was that in your tenure? Okay.
Graduated high school in
Goes-
97.
So, yeah.
Well, we should probably make a mental note to have those inspected.
Yeah.
And just get, a guy out
Yep, we can do that.
so we can fix them to code and.
That's how that happens.
And in that revenue too for Summerfest, it's made up of two big
Right,
parts.
the
With the
donations.
the sponsorship. The second is the carnival. Because, that's where that other 50 grand or so comes from.
The carnival,
And
the
Ti-
vendors.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Tide kind of prays for good weather because that's how that's built.
Yeah.
If there's good weather, there's
Yep.
people riding the rides, of course. and-
So I won't go to Summerfest, so the weather will be really good.
Okay.
All right.
Can you explain the park improvements playscape line item?
So where did we have that at?
72.
Yeah.
That's a zero, right?
Right, the zero, we have it in, we built it
Capital
in the
improvement.
capital improvement, and we're gonna go through that fund, even though I don't have it on here, I wanna show you how we build that.
So all the playscapes that you'll be working on
Yeah.
are under that?
Yeah.
Or just the one at the Young Patriots Park?
The Patriots Park is the grant.
It's a grant, so that's not.
So that won't be
budgeted for,
one,
right.
right, and then the other one, he has 75,000 as the park, right? And the other one, and we'll
So
get
that
that.
includes the basketball courts and?
Yes, yes,
Was the pickleball courts a grant also?
Yes.
Pickleball courts is great,
Yeah.
yes.
Is that starting soon, Tom?
It should be, we have a meeting actually tomorrow on it to
Okay.
get when
Good.
we're gonna start working on stuff.
okay. Now, does that come in the grant, or did they just do it and you get it?
They are taking care of it.
They do the whole
That's
thing.
They pay it,
Yeah,
they-
taken care
do
of
everything,
county.
okay.
The only
County.
thing that we
Yeah.
have to take care of is, being that, Sohio's being used as the engineer for it, we have to pay Sohio, but everything else
Okay,
is being
yep,
taken care
okay.
of by the
Yep, okay.
county.
Yep, okay.
We don't want to pass this
Bike
project
path?
No.
No,
for just,
absolutely.
I'm sorry.
I'm trying to get the word in.
Bike-
Does the bike path maintenance fall in your budget, or is that?
It would, I mean, that would fall into capital improvement for any bike path maintenance. I mean, it is something that we definitely need. I mean, there are so many needs within our parks. I mean, the parks just have not had any updates in years. It's just,
Well, you're doing a good job on finding grants, so that helps.
thanks.
so everybody knows, the grass cutters should be out this week.
Yeah, they were out a little bit yesterday and today, and hopefully tomorrow and Thursday. So they should be out, so.
I really wanted Young Patriots Park cut.
Yeah, I mean, around the
Yeah.
pond area should be cut. There's a lot of very wet areas in Young Patriots. A lot of the parks are very wet this year. It's, it's actually, it doesn't seem like we had more rain, but the parks are actually seeming wetter than what we've had in the past 4 or 5 years going into it. So he's gonna have a hard time getting into a lot of the parks and cutting areas.
Same way at the
here.
golf course, so
Right
I
now.
know,
Yep,
I
it's
know.
wet
So,
out there.
Well, it was really two major events of 2+ inches,
yes.
and it just never recovered. It
Yeah.
had 2 inches, and then
Yeah,
4 days later,
water's-
you had 2.5
Water's
inches.
just sitting on top right now when
Yep.
we get it. It's not,
Mhm.
it's not going through.
Do we do all the ball diamond maintenance, or does the
Yes, we do the ball diamond maintenance for
Baseball
our seven.
associations,
Yep,
they don't?
No, they don't. We've always kept that under us. It's, one of those things we debated and gone back. I mean, we could talk to them, but I think the theory and thought on that was, since they are our diamonds,
Yeah.
we want to keep them, so
Oh, yeah.
we take the liability risk if we give them to them. They're still our diamonds, and then you
Yeah.
get into that liability.
But that's a good point,
Yeah, I just-
O'Neill, because other cities do turn them over to the,
Yeah, and my kids played, so I always remember us doing other stuff to them, so I just
Yeah.
didn't know if it was a
Yep.
combination of help.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I do know other cities that have turned it over to the organizations, it's worked out, and we
Yeah.
probably know other cities just like us that say, no, we're gonna keep them,
Keep
and
'em.
we're gonna,
I don't know who would answer that question I have, but there was a SEMCOG grant for like $45,000 for projects, which could include trailways. Has anybody brought that forward to you?
no, but I will.
I think that was
look into
sent to Dave, and then I kind of got CC'd on that, I think I.
Was that the one
No,
that
this one I
connects the
actually sent to Andy
cities?
because it's SEMCOG. I mean, I included everybody, but I
Yeah.
wasn't sure since he's our
And
SEMCOG.
And I know he
forwarded
he
it,
asked me
yeah.
about it, and I talked to Dave, and Dave was looking into it, so I gotta get with
Okay.
Dave.
I think
Let me
you're-
get with Dave on that.
Back in February, I was looking through my funding hub, and I had sent a couple to you as well for other grants that are
Some kind.
related to infrastructure, because that's obviously going to be a big ticket for us. I could look up that email too, it was, I think, January or February.
a lot.
Fix that, yep. Fix that on the people on the back, on the head
Oh, yeah,
count
the
for
rec-
her,
the count,
for her,
yep.
for his department.
Yep, got it, yeah.
So that we publish as correct as possible. Okay.
That
All
for
right.
Todd?
Todd?
Yep.
Yeah?
Thanks, Todd.
Thank you.
Todd.
Appreciate
We
it.
have to go back to IT, right?
Yeah,
we gotta go to
IT,
key.
Hey, there he is.
IT guy.
We're cutting your budget because the sound was messed up earlier.
Or you need to
Sorry.
increase it.
There you go.
IT's got a little bit of all over, so we'll
What page
do,
are we at?
we're gonna start his regular IT at 75. So his regular IT on page 75.
Wait a second, let's
I
talk
got
about
the
people.
People, one, party one.
Party of what?
Well, he has in his department though.
Yeah, but it's,
Okay.
yeah, we got party.
Cable has two.
Yeah. So
there's
IT
three.
is one, cable is two.
There's three in the IT
Right.
department.
Yeah, IT.
So who's gonna get the bamboo sticks to put under the fingernails and the hot light? And this is your first year, you get that done again. So the second
I'm ready.
year, yeah, okay.
Go right back there.
All right, so this is, he's got stuff a little bit in three different areas, so, and I tried to look at it thinking, we could put it together, but I guess there's a reason for it. So we're gonna start with just the IT. So he's IT for the entire city. We put him there by himself in that position. So 73% of his budget in the general fund for IT. Basically, he's assisting all of the departments so his salary is 73% of the budget. The only other thing is contractual services. We did have Kim helping him out for a little bit, and we added some because you have
Some projects.
coming up that need special assistance, right, from consultants. Then the telephone is in here, so some of this is just whatever. The telephone for the entire city is in here, and some education. So that's really all that is in this budget for IT. So then, let's go to page 93. So this is a separate fund called the Cable and Telecommunication Fund on 93. So if we look on 94, what pays for this is the cell tower and cable fees. So in this, on page 94, the cell tower comes here, the cell tower fees, which is located at the land preserve, but we need this money from those fees to to fund our IT department and cable department, because there's no other funds available for that. So that's why the franchise fees were from cable, and then the cable pegs, and then the tower rental fees come in here to take care of the IT department. So this is the cable, more the cable and the video and the board meeting or council meetings. So the two people are in here to do all that.
So is the cable frame, is that a pretty flat fee all the first?
It's a percentage, so it is a percentage of whatever, oh, the
Franchise.
franchise fees is, it is a percentage, I think it comes in as a percentage of what they make. Cable, people aren't do cable anymore. So a long time it was like, look at the actuals really are, it's kind of staying the same, which is surprisingly, because who really buys cable anymore? They all got all these other.
So it's
things.
just
It's a
WOW and
percentage.
Comcast?
Yeah, yeah, and it's their franchise fees, it's based on their revenues. It's a percentage, I don't know
Do we get
exactly what
I'm sure
percentage.
people have AT&T or Verizon, do we get anything from them?
No.
I mean, if they're cellular type?
Cellular, now you'll get the cell tower rates, yeah. So that's when they come on the phones. Those are the cell towers.
And these are also our tenants on our tower
Yes.
at the
Right.
landfill.
Yes, that's.
So
that's
if you sold the landfill, majority of the 138 a year would go away.
Right, so you have to find another means to finance that. So there's wins and losses when you go to sell that cell tower. Or you'd have to escrow money for the next 20 years to fund this. So if you look at here, we go down to salaries and wages for the two people. And again, this just makes more sense than taking 5% of someone here, 25% of someone, because they'll say, well, how much is it? So 62%, and then the only thing, then you get the cable broadcast fees are about 15,000 to broadcast. Administration, because this is a fund that's not in general fund and it generates its own revenue, I have an admin fee of 5% of revenue. That gives you the 18,000. Before, they were charging at 103,000. I don't know why, but just trying to be consistent. And you got some equipment, so there's really not much here. Any questions on this?
I think our big expenses is all of our,
I'll go to that. That'll be in 402.
Oh.
So then, this is just his regular operations, then we're gonna hit the 402.
Okay.
Is the capital improvement fund, and we'll hit that, after, well, do you wanna start with that?
Yeah.
You guys wanna go to that one, just get that one?
yeah, well, we still have the library fund too, so I don't want to
What do
keep
you wanna
it.
do first, library?
No, do his while he's here. His
The
part
whole
of,
capital improvement?
his part of his 402.
Oh,
Just
this-
do IT 402,
Okay,
find the
so-
page.
And we won't talk about how we finance, we'll just say what he's buying. what
Yes.
he needs to buy. Okay, so
'Cause a lot of
402
that's
is page-
licensing fee just to use the
Yeah.
programs.
No, I'm sorry, 402, I didn't put the page number. No, yeah, maybe. 3. Okay, so page 111. So now again, this is put in the capital improvement fund. Some of these are actually capital improvements, some of these are just operating. So again, there's a little, but it's all there. And so this is in one place, and this is his everything. This is his, all the services, all the monthly bills, all the apps, the police department. So BSNA, it's our computer software for our financial software goes here. It's more like all the technical things are all in this one, lumped into this one.
All the licensing agreements.
The license fees, the monthly bills, everything it takes to run the IT across the board. So this is for everything. This is for the landfill, this is for the golf course, this is for, so everyone, this is to purchase computers.
Antivirus.
Yep. Software, everything kind of runs through this area.
A website.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, what would be
Yeah.
included in the website?
Just a yearly annual maintenance. contract that we have with Revive. So they keep it updated with all the new ADA specifically. I mean, this is one big thing, tools and keep it operational. That's the main thing
Great.
of the website.
Why don't you talk a little bit about our computers and end of life
Yeah.
with our operating system and all of that? And we're still trying to decide how we're gonna do that.
So, currently, the city is mainly on Windows 10. We have a couple newer Windows 11 machines out there. The end of life on Windows 10, it's changed from May, and I think now it's gone to October. But with that, if the computer doesn't have, say, the necessary processor, or there's also a chip, a TPS, chip specifically for the security of the system, it can't be upgraded. So we might find, I've run the numbers, different lists, but essentially it's about half our computers might need to be upgraded at some point soon. The alternative is to pay Microsoft to see if they'll take, they do a plan where they'll still push the updates for the computers over a year, and you pay some annual fee for that, $30 maybe, per computer, to still receive the updates for Windows 10. So this is the situation.
All the
What we-
moving parts.
Yeah, what we really have to decide, because there's a lot of, not a lot, but directors have desktops and laptops. There's other people that have laptops that aren't currently using them. And we may go to a point where if someone's mainly on a desktop, then we'll have the laptops in the IT department. Should they need to work on a laptop away from the city, home, whatever, they'll check them out. Everyone won't be assigned a desktop and a laptop, maybe. We're gonna try to use the resource better or more wisely. Like me, Craig knows that I haven't turned Doug's desktop on since I've been in there. I work off a laptop. So it would make sense that I don't need that desktop, and we wouldn't replace that desktop. I would just use the laptop. Where there's other people that use their desktop and they're assigned a laptop as well. Well, in that scenario, then they could check a laptop out when they need to use one. So we're gonna take a deep dive and really see what computer equipment we have out there and who's using what. And he can tell where I log on. If I log on to someone else, like if Ann says, hey, log on there and look at that account or whatever, he can see if I log into Ann's machine or someone else's machine, so he knows what machine is being used and when, so we'll get a really good feel for what equipment's out there and what's being used, and, because I'm not interested in just taking all the equipment we currently have and just updating it all if it's not being used, so.
Yeah, these are a lot of moving parts when we're talking, so that they're not in here now, we'll have to come back for a budget
Yeah.
adjustment once we get.
Once we figure it
find
out, because we don't really know right now. If we can buy some time with just a de minimis fee to get the updates, we'll do so. But then
Some
we'll,
kind of rolling
and then we'll
upgrade.
start chopping away at what machines need to go and what machines need to stay and what we're doing,
Great.
okay?
Don't we need some servers too?
We do. I'm trying,
He's
I've
gonna keep
applied
saying
for some grants, two of them actually, a RAP grant and also SLCGP grant through the state of Michigan, and just waiting to hear back.
Craig, how many servers did you do already this summer, this
I
this
haven't
winter?
upgraded any
This
servers
fall?
per se, but I've done storage.
Okay,
A big, this it kind of was right when I was coming on. And so it was our big storage that we use, our sand.
But this is no news to me, because when Tim was leaving, he told me that we're gonna go through some major server upgrades, so.
So I'm trying to get it all
We
paid
have to
for
do
with
it.
grants, or with the wrap, I think it's half, so, but even half is great. So any help, really.
Good job.
What do you use for
So we're kind of
backups?
just waiting.
And that's Veeam. I mean, so we do Veeam to disk, to tape, to the cloud. We use Wasabi in the cloud. And that's part of that whole, I'm working on creating a unified, we have a pretty good backup plan going on, but it's just taking care of the servers and a couple workstations, mainly at DPW. They have a GIS workstation that's pretty important. But I'm looking to step that a little bit further, taking care of all the servers, and then the main desktops or laptops that are being used, so that if a ransomware were to hit us, we could come back pretty quickly.
So like the average city worker, they storage on the drive, or they have?
They
like
should,
a
they should be
Google Drive?
using the storage, our map drives. So that was all part of, I increased that space about a month ago. And so now that was on a server itself, and I've moved that to our SAN, so I can expand it as it goes on. So they should be putting it on the shared storage or shared
Yeah.
drives.
So do we still back up the tape, you said?
Yeah, it's the most cost effective, like for a tape of 30, well, compressed,
Are they
30
the LT
terabytes.
tapes, or what are they?
The LTO,
Probably
now we're at like, the iteration is like LTO,
Five.
maybe 10, no, past that.
Yeah.
We have 5 and 8.
Mhm.
So, 8 will do 10 uncompressed and 30 terabytes compressed, which is an awful lot of data.
Yeah.
And cheap, so that tape is like $85.
Wow, that's great.
So,
You don't use 9-track tapes anymore?
or 8-track, 8-track.
No, they're not the big reels, we used to do it.
No, we don't, they don't have that. No, we've got a 224 tape drives,
Okay.
or catalogs, right?
Uh-huh.
The LTO 5 and then LTO 8.
Okay, cool.
All right, anything else for Mr. Craig,
No?
Mr. IT?
Thank you, Craig.
Okay,
Thanks.
Thank you
Last
so
but
much.
not least.
And
All right.
Hobbling,
Save the best for last.
Hobbling
Take your
Rita.
tour and push her up.
I'm sorry if
No, I'm just saying. You can give her a ride up to the front.
Zita, I'm looking at the number on the back, and there's only one, but she has a bunch of part-time.
She does, that's what, but we're saying they're full-time equivalents, so I didn't figure out the full-time equivalent,
Well,
because we
she
didn't
will.
do golf.
I don't want your
Yeah, but
chair.
we didn't do
Oh,
golf,
you
we
didn't
would
do
have
golf.
80
Okay,
as our,
yeah.
we were just trying to do a full-time.
And if you want to
Okay.
just lay down or something.
I mean, those part-time are basically
Okay.
full-time, because they're not seasonal, I don't want to, yeah, we could do whatever, yeah, we could.
All right, what pages is Zita on? She's way in the
What
back.
page are you on?
Page 100.
100.
Ooh, nice even.
Nice even number.
Page 100.
Well, my summary starts at 90.
Yep, right.
Right. So, she can, like, well, we made you stay this long, we'll make you talk. So, on page 100, so her revenues are basically 0.8 mils. So she is funded by a 0.8 millage, which gives us the 341,015. And then she gets the minimal fees from the library fines. You can see that just, she gets minimal activity. And then we do transfer her in 110,000 from general fund. So she has enough to operate, so we do transfer that in every year. as far as expenses, her salary, she does have a lot of part-time, so we don't put them high part-time.
I'm the only full-time, and then I have 6 part-time. I actually might need it. Really, 8 was what we were at. I'm down a few, but 6 is what we've been operating with for the last few years.
And then, yeah, the one full-time, and then, let's see, whether there's anything that you might. Her big expense is library services, which I'm sure that's where you get your books, right? Central Library
Yeah,
Service?
so Central Library Service is books and e-materials, so e-books and all of that comes from there. And that's our biggest expenditure. Our biggest expenditure is salaries and
Right.
benefits like every other department, but yeah, that's the biggest thing we spend money on. And you'll notice that some of these are down quite a bit from what we projected or what was allocated, but remember, some of these were budget amendments. So like in Central Library, it says that I projected 100,000, but we moved money from our our general fund to buy some services that we haven't had before. But next year, in the new budget year, our fund balance is down to the 15% that we're supposed to be at. We had a surplus for a few years, which is why we did all those capital improvements, the doors, the furniture, everything we were doing. Now we've moved through that extra fund balance that we had due to a couple reasons. COVID was one of them. The loss of the director before me, we had some spending that didn't happen, so we were carrying over this fund balance every year, and that's been spent. So I've been working the last few years to spend that down to where we're supposed to be, which is 15 to 20% of our total budget, which is what we're projecting to be at this year. So that's why some of them are a little higher than normal, and they have been a few years because we've been moving money to buy things, but now we're operating at without that movement.
That's really unique because the library is the only fund that has its own general fund. And it's also managed by the Library Commission.
Yeah.
That is her authoritative board that actually grants her permission, once you approve the budget, to spend it.
Right. And that was all created because we're it's called a PA 164 library. And when they incorporated us brought their own library into the city, the commission or the council at the time made the decision to create a commission that would allow the library to have financial jurisdiction over the money and keep its own fund. So that could sort of, all the money so like this year, if we don't spend all of the money we've projected, it'll go back into the fund. And then we're able to do those little projects without having to, ask the city
For
for
more.
big amounts. Yeah, hopefully be able to cover our own expenses at the end of the day.
Yeah, there's more of a mini fund per se.
Yeah.
Building maintenance come from that fund?
It does. What we budgeted usually is between 3 and 5, and that's for, just the general stuff, light bulbs, filters for our water fountain, that sort of thing. Any of our big expenditures would come from that, so the fund balance would have to be used if, the roof. I know the city has helped us in the past because our fund balance is also not big enough for our building is very large. So we've had to ask for help. I know we got new carpet a few years, 10, 15 years ago, I can't remember. The city helped with that. The boiler, one of our boilers had trouble, and we paid part of it, but the DPW helped with that, so, yeah. That's what it's basically used for, is those big ticket items. This time it was the doors and the furniture.
Yeah. How's that working out?
The doors are fantastic.
Everyone can get in and
Yes,
out.
everyone can get in and out, and the handicap switches on the meeting room have been a game changer for people who come in, who bring things in to do presentations, or in wheelchairs or walkers. It's been amazing, and the bathrooms as well. So you don't realize how much air and heat was escaping through those, the cracks in the doors until they sealed them properly. And now you go in the lobby and it's warm. The toilet seats in the public bathroom are actually, sittable in the wintertime. So, yeah, it's been
things.
the little things. It really is, but it's been a great purchase, yeah. And if all goes well, those doors should outlast all of us sitting at this table, being in the city, so.
And you'll be happy to know they're looking at your parking lot.
Yeah, yeah, that's.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The danger zone.
Oh, it is.
We've had a couple slip and falls, and
Yeah, unfortunate incidences.
we
over
have to
the
take
last-
care of those things, and unfortunately, you just can't turn a blind eye to that stuff, so.
Yeah, and we've done, the DPW, to their credit, has come out every time and cold patched, and, you know, we've done everything we can, but it's just to the point now where we've had more than a few people have incidences in that part of the parking lot, so.
Safety hazard.
It's just, it is at this point, unfortunately, so.
Great,
Any questions for Rosita?
thank you, Azita.
All right, thank you guys so much. Yeah.
You can have a home.
Hobble back out,
Hey,
yeah.
hey, Azita, I think it's worth mentioning about the audit with Wayne County and how they overpaid some and underpaid some, so listen to this story.
Okay,
This was-
if you'll
Just give me a Cliff Notes
Yeah,
version.
I will. So if you look under penal fines, under our revenues, so I don't know if you know, but it's in the Michigan State Constitution. They made it a decree. The libraries would get a portion of all the penal fines collected in the state to help fund them, because we all know that, you know, libraries need funding, and a lot of times it's only from property taxes, and so when you have years where it's really low, you're hoping the penal fines will help offset it, so the property taxes go up, that sort of thing. So it's been a great asset to the libraries. Well, for 10 years now, we've been getting almost the same amount of penal fines. If you look back in these statements, you'll see it's around 7,000. And how it's figured out is libraries, we were supposed to be getting what we thought was 48 cents on the dollar per our population. So you figure it out per capita. So it was 12,000 people times 0.48, and then that's what we would get. Well, a library in Garden City, so we're in Wayne County Libraries, Garden City Library said, hey, isn't it supposed to be the Library of Michigan, who's kind of our department that kind of helps us with like the grants I get and things. It's always through the Library of Michigan. And they were saying that we should be getting 0.89 cents per capita. And we're like, okay. They said, they'll take a look and just make sure we've been getting that. And we said, okay. So we all started looking at it.
You're like, no, we're not getting that.
And we haven't been. And so Garden City started, and then I also checked mine out, and I started emailing Wayne County, and we said, hey, been noticing that we're supposed to get 0.89. We haven't been getting that. What's up? And they said, oh, yeah, there's been an issue. We've been underpaying a few libraries. We're going to make it right. And we said, okay.
Wayne County underpaying?
Yeah. So what turned out to be underpaying wasn't just us, a few in TLN and Wayne. It's in Wayne County only, interestingly, is the only county that had this issue. But we've had libraries, all of the libraries were either overpaid or underpaid. And Wayne County was made aware of this. The Library of Michigan helped us go through it. So like Romulus Library, they were overpaid by $1.4 million. And we were underpaid by about 36,000. We're actually the lowest. Ours was only, if you'll notice, this year I projected 11,000 because that's where we've supposed to been for the last 10 years. So, which helps us with that book budget increase a little bit. But, so they've been doing this to all the libraries. The Detroit Public Libraries were underpaid by 1.9 million. So if you look at like Trenton was overpaid, Southgate was underpaid, Wyandotte was underpaid. So it all evens out that all of us that were overpaid, all of the libraries were overpaid, all of us that were underpaid, we're giving our money to them. And so now we're in a situation where Wayne County and all of us libraries need to figure out how to get that made right. But it became a big issue. It was in the Free Press, and yeah, it was quite the.
Right,
I guarantee you
it's already
that
spent.
Romulus doesn't have $1.4 million
Right.
sitting in
Yeah.
their fund balance.
No.
I guarantee
Yeah.
you, it's all been spent.
Yeah, so it's been an interesting
Can you imagine
situation.
that?
Yeah, but it's only Wayne County that it happened in, and the explanation, we don't have all the explanations. There's now, you know, the city manager's involved, the commission, my library commission's been involved, and now lawyers are involved with some of the other libraries. But we don't actually have a full audit yet from Wayne County. So they're working towards an audit, but what we're waiting to see is this could be less or more. We don't actually have the actual numbers.
Wow.
So we will keep you posted, but the good news is Riverview was not overpaid, so we will not owe, and hopefully we'll get the money that we're owed, and hopefully those libraries that owe, they will make it right somehow, because 1.4 million.
It's a lot to come up with.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's like so if they're even getting overpaid 200,000 a year, that's a lot. I mean, to have to now figure out how to put that back in your budget is quite impossible. So now they have to figure that out and how to
Repay.
So luckily we are not in that position.
Yeah.
Like nothing but compliments on the library all the time, so.
Thank you, I appreciate
And
your
we
time.
won't be around when that happens too, so it doesn't.
Yeah, the litigation I'm imagining will take a few years.
Absolutely.
My
Yeah.
kid will be a councilman.
Yeah, you know, so we're hoping for the best, especially for those libraries that, because like you said.
That's gotten so hard.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But if you want to read about it, there is an article, if you Google it, you can Google, it was in the Free Press a few places, just so you can see it, breaks down all the libraries
Wow.
and what,
Interesting.
where they're standing, so.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, thank you very
Good
much.
night, be safe.
All right, thank
All
you.
right, let's go to, these are gonna be super quick, then we'll do the capital thing, and then we're out of here. So let's do, in general,
What page?
I'm thinking, hold on.
Ian
I'm gonna
has-
grab a water.
Trying to
Does
get through
anyone
all
else want water?
No, Ian has mastered this book in 2 years.
Okay, so we're gonna go to internal service funds. So this is kind of putting it all together.
Page number.
Talking about your 142
142.
and 143. So this is easy. This is our self-insurance. So this is basically our liability insurance for the entire city. So it's about $508,000. What we do is we allocate it to all the different departments, the general fund, golf, water, sewer, local streets, library. So it's our total liability. We allocate to all the funds. They were in all the funds, and now we just put it here and.
142.
142.
142.
This is easy, this is just an in and out, but that's how that all is working. So this is for self-insurance. The next one is for, we do the same thing, now we're talking about the OPEB. So we've seen that OPEB go through, this is our OPEB fund, so we're basically charging all the other funds and we're putting it into the OPEB fund to pay for, if you look, what we're doing is paying for the health retirees, we're paying for their health insurance, and then we're paying the $200,000 to the OPEB trust. So this is like our internal service fund. We also have an OPEB trust, because remember we talked about what is legally required to do and what we're doing internally. So the retiree insurance fund is what we're doing internally. The OPEB trust is what legally we need to be doing. And then if you look at that retiree healthcare supplement, I moved it out of the general fund and put it here because it makes more sense here because it is a retiree insurance fund issue.
Is that the $32,000?
That's the 35, yeah. It's
Where is that
down-
at? What line item?
It's,
What
line
page?
item 143.
And what, where is that? It's called the supplement?
Retiree-
Yep, the
Retiree
supplement.
healthcare
Okay,
supplement.
yep, got
So
it.
that's where that came, and then you see the 200,000 that's required to
Yep.
go into the trust.
Yep,
That city.
gotcha.
Okay.
How many retirees were part of that supplement?
There was 16, 15, now it's at 16. So it's basically Medicare per,
Is it $2,100 or something?
no, well, yeah, for
Yeah.
12 months.
Yep.
2,100, it's whatever Part B is.
Yep, it's 2,100 times about 16 or
Right.
17 people.
Right.
That's
So
what that
this,
is.
yes, so this is the accumulation, so that's how those.
I know it's been in this
Makes
account
sense.
or in this amount since I've been at the city in 19.
Yeah, it changes whatever the,
It's always been in the budget since I've been around.
any questions on those two funds and how they all work and how we bring them all together? And how we pay for it, so you do know, because I'm pulling it together, how much we are physically paying by the actual amounts in our budget.
I just want to clarify, I don't want to make a big
No.
deal out of it. I'm just trying to understand that healthcare supplement, what the origin is and what it covers.
It is basically Part B, because Part A you get for free. So whatever Part B is for those 16 people, I'm
Part B doesn't
basically
pay 20% of,
reimbursing Part B is what I'm doing.
so Medicare pays 80%, that's the other 20%.
But it's for only those people that aren't on the actual retirement of the Medicare Advantage plan. Those people have their own Medicare Advantage plan. These people are not on that. These people didn't make it to that far, and all we're doing is paying the Part B.
And there's nobody else new on that
Right, no one knew,
That's
this
just
is old.
the people that,
Yes, they didn't qualify for the actual benefit, but they were given a stipend for working long enough or whatever at that time, is my understanding. Any other questions there?
Nope.
And then the fiduciary funds, these are our trust funds. So, obviously, the pension trust fund is on page 146. And so you're seeing the interest earned as a guesstimate. Then you got your full-time, what we're paying into the pension. So I'm looking at all the monthly pension benefits. It's about $3 million. So this is all in a pension trust fund. This is not available to us. This is
And
a
that-
PNC
And that
trust fund.
800,000 is our contribution to that pension fund
Correct.
per year. Yep.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So actuals, you can see 895, and everything, but 800 is what we're budgeting.
I think that's it.
And I think that's it. Now, but still, I want to go to the
Capital improvement?
capital improvement, because I think that's
Okay.
important to see how we're funding all that.
Okay.
111?
Yep. Everyone go to 111. Okay, start at 110. Or let's start at 111, then we'll, so if we go to 111, so these are the capital improvements within the general fund type situations. These aren't including the golf, land preserve, or DPW, because those are in those enterprise funds. These are all governmental funds, so we have to. fund them this
402,
way.
right?
Yep, 402. So we have
901.
separate funds for these, yes. So if we look at what we are budgeting, so you see park improvements, playscape, so that's at 75,000. Follow me right here, we're going right down in the last
110?
column.
Okay.
And 110. So these are the things that are gonna come up for you. There was a security system in Veterans Park that he wanted to put up. The basketball courts resurfaced for 75,000. Carpet and flooring was for, we talked about out here, and the police department was at 188. The doors at the community center were 15,000.
Making those double doors. Right
Yeah.
now, they're single.
Yeah.
Hard to get things
What,
in and
the
out.
front and the back?
The upgrade, gas upgrade we talked about, the 18.5, and then the city hall parking lot at 275. So these are all right now is what we're budgeting as far as capital improvements.
Placeholders.
Placeholders right now for just capital improvements through the city. through
Now,
the-
the city hall parking lot, we looked at that years ago, and Ohio said that due to the ground and all this other stuff, it was gonna cost me a ton of money, because there had to be drainage and all this other stuff. I
We're not
vetoed
doing-
that, and then we blacktopped. But he said it was a phenomenal price.
Yeah.
All
This
right,
is not the road.
It's
This
not the
is-
road?
No,
Okay.
'cause you
Yeah.
know what the
No, not the
phenomenal
road
price
coming
was the
in.
road.
Right.
Yeah,
He's got
Like,
the.
yeah,
I mean, it was scary.
yeah, like 2.5 million.
Yeah.
So if we
Oh, that's
wanted,
road. It was, so we were talking about what we'll get the estimates for. This is the cement at the library plus the vicinity of our parking lots in asphalt, not cement. Only that's gonna be cement.
Yeah.
But not the road coming in. That
the
was
road,
not,
the whole
that's
road
not it.
from Sibley to Williamsburg,
Yeah.
2.5 million to
Yeah,
do that
that
road.
wasn't it.
As
This
much
is
as we
just
want to
the-
get it done, it's 2.5 million.
Wow, that road is terrible though.
I know, I do, every morning I come in it and just think, God, why can't we fix this?
Why do you think half of us drive Jeeps?
Yeah.
But we did talk about it, and it could be something we could eventually finance with major and local roads, because he said that's the
Yeah.
local road, so that we could
finance it over
eventually, yeah.
20 years.
Yeah, so that's not out of the question, but it did have to be a
It
priority.
is for this year. I
So-
would-
Yes, right.
So this capital improvement account is placeholders. This does not
Yes,
mean
no, we'll have to
that when you
come.
approve the
Any-
budget,
yes,
that you get to go
right.
do these. Everything's
Right.
got to be brought before you for vote.
Right, so there's that patrol
Can you
car.
explain the 188,000 for carpeting, is that this entire building or?
Entire building plus public safety, plus down there,
Please.
yeah,
It's carpet in there and flooring out here.
yeah. We got,
You
it's one
can't, you
quote, it
can't
was
do
just a
the,
placeholder.
in the
yeah.
council chambers, it doesn't work to do that. What kind of floor I want to talk about?
I know, the plank flooring.
A plank,
Yeah, yeah.
hardwood floor?
Yeah, right. The life proof.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
It'd be life proof here, hallways, but not in the council
All right.
chambers would be carpet.
so yeah, that was just
Be
a one
finance,
fast inside
community, city manager, hallway, police.
note. But I'm almost thinking that's probably gonna have to be put off because the parking lot's probably gonna be more than what the 275. Is
We'll
what I'm
see.
guessing, but like I said, he's working on those estimates, those are just like thrown out estimates. So there's your patrol car, the ambulance is your big one, $394. This is the second ambulance that's been on order for over a year.
Probably won't be here in this budget year is my guess.
No, but this is coming up one, that's what we have it
It
there.
might not be.
Well, it
I'm
might
just-
not be, but it's
Really?
there too.
Yeah, that's like 18 months out for
Still?
ambulances, so.
Yep, yep,
But we put our placeholder in there.
yep. And then that fire truck, we're gonna replace that with the turnout gear. Because he said he can put his truck off in the fire department for another year. So I'm gonna put the,
Are police patrol cars enforcers, Ford enforcers? You know what they are, our patrol cars?
We're explorers.
the Explorers.
Suzie, you know,
They're-
Explorers.
explorers?
Mhm. And the 75 is, the car, the Explorer might be like 50, 40-something, 50.
Mhm.
It's all the lights and the outfits and
Right, that's what it costs.
and the computer and, to outfit that car is
You
like,
gotta send them out to get them outfitted.
yeah,
Yeah.
25 grand.
Yeah,
That's the normal outfit fee, I think, right now.
They're pretty bare bones at the factory.
Yeah.
yeah.
I've
You gotta
actually
put
been
those
getting
seats in the
complaints that
back.
code enforcement is not giving enough tickets to people lately. I've had 3 different people tell me the code enforcement has not been anywhere around. I'm like,
Well, I hear
What?
the exact opposite.
I know.
Yeah.
You hear when they just drive by.
so crazy.
Well, I think,
That would be cool.
I don't want to speak out of line, but I thought that they had GPS put in their cars so they can be tracked during the day.
Oh, good.
And, if they're stopping and all of that, so I'd have to verify that. I just want to verify that before I go on record to say that, but I think there's a move for that. Sure.
I like it.
Next, the DPW has got 2 trucks. We will probably, in this next council meeting, we're gonna actually buy one now, use fund balance, and then we'll reimburse it next fiscal year, because they need one. Then the wood chipper, that we talked about, the wood chipper and the cold patch heater, those will be reimbursed through, major
51.
local roads if we buy them. Otherwise, I'm not gonna reimburse
That's
them, and you're
a
gonna see those
350
come in.
truck with a special bed to catch
Yeah.
all the clippings.
Yeah,
The
Uh-huh.
one we're using right now is a 2000, and it's kind of really worn out. That's not gonna go for sale, that's gonna go to the golf course, because they could love to have that, as you could guess.
and then, those 2 voting machines are the 19,000. So how we fund this, is on page, or the attempt to fund this. If we use them all, if we do them all, if we don't, these are just placeholders right now, but just so we have a funding mechanism. The ambulance, there was a private donation for $84,000 that we're gonna apply against the ambulance. We're having general fund contribute $500,000 to the capital improvement fund for those
What page you on?
Yeah.
109.
Thank
So
you.
now I'm doing the revenue, and where
Yeah,
we're pulling
okay,
the money
yep.
in
Yeah.
to take care of these. So general fund, 500,000. Major and local roads, 172.5. Local roads, 197.5. The cable commission, because we have all that cable equipment, we need to transfer some back in, 100,000. And then the water fund, 200,000, and the land preserve, 200,000, because of all the equipment and all the computers and all the stuff that they do, we have some of that come in. So, right now, if we did everything as is, we would, if you look on page 111, there's a fund balance, sitting there of, right now, the beginning fund balance,
709.
709, and if we do everything and all, we'll be drawing down fund balance to leave about $300,000 in there. But will we do it all? Probably not. Will we come to you for priorities? But just, there's a means to do it. We'll see if general fund at the end of the day, we can contribute more into there at the end of this fiscal year. So we're just kind of keeping an eye on it. I think if we can always push it over to capital improvement. We know there's a lot of things that need to be done, whether it be this stuff, old stuff. But like I said, there is a funding mechanism for it. So we're just gonna keep an eye on it. We'll have, so that's it for the budget. We'll have your March 31st reports to you by next meeting.
Monday.
Yeah, with your.
The next meeting's tomorrow, right? We have a special.
Oh, yeah.
So it won't be then, you'll have them done Friday.
Yeah, for Monday.
And then, when you guys study, that's very bad. When mayor and council studies the budget and we talk about it,
Yeah.
we're not printing finals until everybody's concurs with this book.
Right.
So if there's changes, then we'll make adjustments to print the finals.
Right. And
These
we'll
have
put
been
the-
just done in draft, paper form.
Right. And budgets will, be ready for the public hearing.
Yep,
10
then they'll be posted for the public hearing, and
Yeah. I got it.
all right.
Thank you. This
Great
is
job.
so much work. I can't even imagine
a
being
lot.
passionate about this.
There's a lot done by many, all the
Yeah.
directors,
Oh, I know.
department
And I mean,
heads, and
Yeah,
spread it
for
around
sure.
to everyone.
Oh, for sure.
And then
Yes,
Ann's
or
gonna
just
do,
take all the credit.
Ann has a lot of
No, they
meetings
do have, yeah.
with all the departments, and then we sit down with the department head, and
They do take it all very seriously. And
Yep.
like I said, they're just not coming up with stuff.
But I think in the end too, you guys are well aware of all the budget issues and stuff that we have, and you're fixing them, I think. So going forward, I think we're in much better shape than we have been in
Oh, absolutely.
several years.
Oh, I'm not going to.
We're not quite done yet. Now it's time for public comment.
Mr. Van Calvin's still here.
I can't believe you made it.
Real quick,
It's so late.
real quick, but you answered two of the three questions that I had, so I appreciate that. Because Jeff, you and I had corresponded about getting the budget out to the public as soon as you could. I know you guys need to do your due diligence and go over it, so I appreciate that. And any efforts to get it out early would be good. I was very happy to hear that the third quarter budget reports will be coming out, and as was promised, I expect that the public will have that availability as well. The last thing that I'd ask, though, is in regards to both of those, sometimes when you guys publish documents, they go out there in PDF form, but sometimes the PDF form is done from, I think, from the scan on a Ricoh, and it really is just a picture. It's real hard to do anything with it. Other times, I think, you're printing them from like Word or Microsoft Excel or something and printing them out as PDFs raw. And when that happens, people like myself can take those in, actually extract the data, parse it, and do analysis. If it's out there just as an image, though, it's nearly impossible. I guess I shouldn't tell you that, because then you might choose the one alternative. I can't use it, and I can't come up with any questions. But I'd appreciate. I know, but I'd appreciate it if you.
All I know is everything that's put online is scanned.
Yeah.
That I do know.
Well, sometimes it's scanned, I think, and sometimes it's output from a Word document, because I can look in the metadata and see what created it. And I think your IT people can look at that and see. And if it's possible to do it that way, I'd appreciate it. But if not, then I'll just sit in the back corner and be quiet.
She sends me the document for my review, and then once I say, yeah, and then she puts it out.
Yeah.
That's how
Then
that
Mary
kind of works.
scans it,
That's
right?
kind
I think then Mary scans it or whatever.
Yeah, okay, well, thanks a lot. I
Yeah.
appreciate all your hard work.
Yep.
Thanks for coming, Ken.
Right.
Okay, we're done.
Good night.
Okay.